Welcome back to Tech Tuesday. I'm your host, Jordan Evans, and today we are talking about Bo's journey to trust, Freddie the Brave Frog, Jerry the Giraffe, and Steve the Snail, and other fun characters. And you're probably like, well, Jordan, am I on the right place? Yes, you are. We are talking about Witlingo stories, and today we have on two awesome people. But before we get into it, before we talk about all the fun things that are happening in tech and senior living, let's run our intro. As that intro so wonderfully put, I am your host, Jordan Evans. Today we have on Ahmed, who is CEO and founder of Witlingo, and we have Chris, who is the Witlingo resident champion, who has been, Ahmed has been sending all over her area talking about the wonderful Witlingo stories. So, Chris, we'll start with you. So Witlingo stories, Ahmed will talk more about it later, but what has been your experience? What is it in your eyes? How did you first get into this?
Well, we have a social worker here at the building, and Ahmed was in touch with her. And when he decided to do the stories, he had asked Anne if she had anybody that would be able to help, and Anne gave my name, and then he called me, and then that was it. And then we formed a nice little friendship, and I help him get people to do a story.
And so you go all around getting people to tell their story or tell fun stories that that Ahmed uses to create these wonderful stories, and we'll get into them later. We'll even drop a link. What has been your favorite story? What has been your favorite experience? How do you find the value in this?
Well, the value in it is for the seniors. I live in a senior building, and there are many seniors here who choose to just stay in their apartments, not get involved in the senior center, which is right downstairs in the basement of our building. And the people that I chose to do the story, some of them are what I call shut-ins. They stay in all the time. They were very happy to do this story, and I watched them when they were doing the story, adding. There's usually two people together when they do the story. Ahmed puts out a prompt of some sort. He says a couple of sentences, and then everybody has to make a story from that sentence or paragraph that Ahmed has just said to them. And they take turns going back and forth. They kind of feed off of each other. And when these people were doing the stories, they were into it, like seriously into it, talking little baby talks to be the character, whatever the character was, whichever animal it was. And it was, they loved it so much. They're still talking about it. They tell everybody about it. And that is enjoyment for me, to see them out of their apartment, participating in this story, and in the end, they're an author now. They become authors, the people, and so now they could tell their family, have their family listen to it, because it becomes what do we call those? The audiobook on Amazon. So their family can buy it and they have something that their mom or their aunt or their grandma uh, helped help create the story.
That's amazing. Ahmed, you have an amazing champion here. And creativity, Chris, is I've come across this myself. Some people say, I'm not creative, or you don't want me involved, and like you don't want to hear from me. How do you get past that?
Well, I tell them that it's only 20 minutes of their time. And I also tell them that they're with another person. So if they can't think of something when it's their turn to speak, the other person can do it. And again, they can feed off of it and make a story from that. I mean, I had some people who just didn't want to do it. They were not
Yeah.
interested. They didn't want to do it. But yeah, once they did it, they loved it. It was just something. I have a way about me of getting people to do things. So yeah, because in the senior center, I do a lot of uh, I sell raffles and things for the Friends organization, and yeah, I do pretty well on that because I can convince people to do
How
things.
has this helped you live? So, I mean, as most people that live in neighborhoods or apartment buildings, seeing independent living communities are the same. Like, you have to get people connected and create community. How have you found this to be helpful in creating that community? Have you built friendships that you didn't have before? Have people met each other that didn't meet again? Like, tell me about your experience in creating community with this.
Well, I know everybody in the building, so it's always hello and goodbye. Some people I'm closer with, and we take classes together, we go on trips together. So they know me a little better than other people. But yeah, when we have anything going on here in our community room, I will announce about the stories that Ahmed does, and they should all give it a shot. And it really is very simple. And those people that have already done it will be there, and they'll say,
Oh,
yeah, it really is. It's easy. It's great. You should do it. And then I had some people hear the stories that didn't do the stories, and they just can't believe that out of 20 minutes that this cute little story came out of it.
that's
So,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's a good thing for people who don't participate in things around here. So again, this is just 20 minutes of their time, and they end up enjoying it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Ahmed, tell
Yeah.
us about the science behind this. How does it work? What does it do? So what I've heard is you go in and you're collecting these snippets of recording, and then a story comes out.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
are you doing this?
Well, the science is the boring part in all of this. What's exciting is is because I've met with most of the folks. I mean, I was there while we were creating the stories, and it's really amazing to see them. Every single one of them, they come in very, because they don't know what's going on here. Like, what do you want from us and all? They come in very, you know, apprehensive. And then, as Chris was saying, all of a sudden they come alive in terms of they see that, okay, it's safe, and I keep telling them, you are totally in charge, you are in charge of what happens next. You are the director, right? And that just empowers them to be in control, right? And to be creative, and at the end to have something that they can call their own creation. I mean, we human beings, we are inherently creative creatures. We want to create something. We want to say, I went from here to here, and this is my product, right? My thing, right? So what we do is we sit down and we start with a prompt, usually something along the lines of, Zach the zebra, you know loved, to eat blueberries. Okay, now and then you give it to the other person. They're like, what am I going to do with this? I said, it's your turn. Do whatever you want to do with it, right? And then we go back and forth and we record that session. So there's an audio recording. And that audio recording includes, because there's a lot of back and forth and side comments about the story, and me telling them, well, now I think we should create a crisis, and then they go, right? So we create a structure. All of that is recorded raw, right? And then we take that and we feed it into a generative AI engine. So it's off OpenAI's software with some additional things that we've done to make it a story kind of an engine, right? So we feed the audio, it gets transcribed, and then we feed the transcription into this AI, and then the AI gives it a title and just writes the story. Okay. And then
Wow.
and we tell it things like, this is for children's stories. So right, and we say it's for kids between 5 and 9, so it knows what language to use, vocabulary. There's always a moral to the story. Even if it's not meant, there's always a moral to the story. And most of the time, what I've noticed, and Chris, maybe you can back me on this, is it's all about friendship, right? And it's all about coming together to solve a problem, and it's all about going from one place to a better place, right? Meaning you were in a crisis and now you're in a better place with always friendships, right? Which is a reflection of, I think, anyone who is in a community with folks, right? They want to be part of a real community. And so anyway, the technology again is pretty straightforward in terms of, it's just magic that we didn't create, we just sort of built upon, we're leveraging. And the original idea came when I saw these artists, these artists who use generative AI to create art, all kinds of art, right? So they come in, they use data, and then they end up with this amazing 3D video, whatever, right? Art, okay? And so I said to myself, okay, so these folks, are creating art like that. We can create art, which is stories, right? With the art being actively created, meaning the idea, all the characters and all the events that happens in these stories came from these folks. It was not from the engine. It's the engine. All it did is it created language, and then used the structure of stories and so forth. But the ideas and the characters and and all of that came from the brains of the folks who are. So they in effect really created something, right?
Yeah.
Really created something that is fun to read. And I have listened to them. I've read them many, many times, and they always, bring a smile to my face, especially knowing that they came from folks who initially were, and then you end up with an amazing story. Like, I couldn't have thought of that. There's no way I could have thought of that. But
That's often how companies create amazing things. Is you create a tool and then you just let people run wild with it. And you don't know what someone's going to do with a hammer
exactly. Yeah.
until they just go and do it. So, Chris, where do you see the next use of Witlingo's stories? Where do you see these stories being told, and where do you see the next stories to be told?
Where do I see the stories being told? Well, once they're put on Amazon and everybody lets their families know, their families will buy it and read it to the grandkids or whoever, any family, a young family member. And they'll know that grandma did this or auntie did this, or yeah. So I think I see it going there. As far as the future, well, I don't know what Ahmed has in his head, so I don't know where he's going next.
Oh, I know exactly. I think where we're going to go next. Well, first of all, let me make sure that it's clear that all the copyright is owned by the residents, by the folks, right? We don't retain the copyright. Meaning, if like I always say, if some producer from Hollywood likes one particular story and he wants to turn it into a movie, guess what? Somebody's gonna get rich. It's not gonna be me, right? Uh, and I'm totally happy with that. The money that comes from the Amazon purchase, we retain zero money from there. It goes directly. It's gonna be little money, because, as you well know, anybody who has published books, doesn't matter whether it's Harvard University books or whatever it may be, you're not gonna make a lot of money, right? In any case, the point is we are here really to, meaning we, being with Lingo, we're doing this to just, you know, create something meaningful using technology that we have access to within the domain that we work in, right? And establish relationships, enable us to talk to many folks who are in the ecosystem, and deliver something, I think, most importantly, that is of value to the residents. Now, in terms of next steps, so these are all, we started with the lowest hanging fruit, which is completely fiction, and it's fiction with animals, right? That's next thing is, and folks told us, okay, well, how about if can we do like a book of like life events, like something that a memory, a real memory, right? So that's the next step. Is we're working with Chris and other folks to find individuals who want to tell a story about themselves that they are willing to share. And it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be an interview. I'll sit with them, or somebody from my team will sit with them, and then we'll talk for half an hour about, we'll pick something that is important to them. Could be something that happened, like a turning point, a life event that they want, or whatever it may be. Or maybe they want to give some advice. So it'd be nonfiction. The first one was pure fiction. This is a nonfiction. And then we just need to make sure we do it right in terms of ensuring that the person is comfortable sharing what they want to share. And then the rest, again, the easy part is the technology and all of this, right? Take that and we turn it into something. Probably for this one, we will have to show them a draft. Like, this is what we came up with. Are you okay with it? Is this have the right tone? And get some feedback there. And then after that, we do the same thing. We'll gather them. They'll have the copyright, and then we publish it, and we'll call it book number 2 in the series. And along the way, we are like sort of the most important thing for us at Witlingo as a company. We're gonna learn a lot about many things that I even don't know. We're gonna learn. So this is going to be a very enriching experience in terms of us understanding where we can take this technology, what kind of value we can unearth, and deliver it through our products.
This is amazing. I really do appreciate, one, I appreciate your approach to this, Ahmed, in really allowing your product and the future to in the hands of those who can give you ideas on what to do next. But I mean, in an industry that is made up of stories, mostly stories that happened and that are happening.
Yeah.
Communities like yours, Chris, they're nothing but stories.
Yes.
And people telling stories of what they've done and what they're doing and what they yet still want to do. And it is the role of us who work in this industry and serve this industry to continue to allow there to be a space where you can talk about what you want to do and to facilitate opportunities for you to do it, and to have more stories to tell. That is this We're the business of making more stories to tell. And so it's so awesome to hear about this awesome work. And community engagement is so important. And so often, Chris, I don't know if you experience this, but I see this so often. Residents aren't empowered to do their own community engagement. It's like, well, here's what we have scheduled for you all, and here's what you can do. How have you loved, being able to take hold of your own community's engagement?
Oh, I think it's great. I like it. I'm living in this building for 3 years now, and when I first came here, it was still COVID when I first came here, so I didn't meet a lot of people at first. But once I started meeting them, especially the older people, like 85 to 90, they just they kind of just stay in their apartment, whether it's because their leg is hurting that day or something's hurting them. Because with the seniors here, and because of the ones that are 80 and 90, they have this mindset that if they're hurting, they shouldn't move, right? Because you got to rest it. So don't move. And I've tried over the last 3 years to let them know you have to move. You have to move, even if you have pain, because that's how everything works in your body when you're moving. So if you want it to be better, you got to move. But I love this story part of it because it has made them very happy. It really has. I mean, they love doing it. If they see me in the hall, is the book in Amazon yet? No, it's not in Amazon yet. So yeah, they're just very excited, and I'm glad that I was a part of it to get them to do this.
Well, I can tell you that it would not have happened without you, Chris. Because I don't think I can convince anyone over there to listen to me. You know, and they'll say, "Who's this guy? What does he want from us?" Right?
Yeah, well,
Um,
because they get skeptical.
they get
That's why.
skeptical and so
Yes.
forth. And so I know one of the skills that I have, if I may say so, is I can spot talent. Right? So I spotted talent immediately. I knew as soon as I saw Chris, I said, "This person is one of a kind," and she is.
Thank
No,
you.
you are, Chris. So
Thank you.
I think one lesson that I've learned just watching you two interact is how important it is to not only have staff champions, which we always talk about staff champions, but to have resident champions too,
yeah,
and not just to see them as an end user that is talked about and not talked with, but to see them as an end user that constantly can be talked with and to be engaged with.
yeah, yeah,
And you don't need to, you just get in the car and drive to a community, talk to the
yeah.
residents in whatever setting, whether it be independent all the way to skilled. There's always an opportunity to engage with a
Yeah.
resident of
Yeah,
any
no,
community.
one lesson learned is, um, you know, when I'm there, to be honest with you, Chris is sort of an outlier, but even the other residents who are participating only as storytellers, they take a step back and they try to help me at the meta level, right? They start saying things like, this going to help us be unleash a little bit of our creativity, right? And I take that very, very seriously because they are providing me with insights, that is beyond the story, and that's very helpful to get them. And they like to be engaged in that way as well. They're not a tool at all. They are a member of this conversation, an equal. And if one goes in with that attitude, one can get quite a bit of information, insight, right? And everybody, we as human, we want to share. We are social beings. We want to share. We want to share wisdom. We want to share our fears. We want to share our ambitions. And then when you get people who are in that setting and they're relaxed and they see that this is earnest, I'm there really earnestly trying to get something really special, because they can see me also bubbling up just like them. I'm bubbling up when I'm happy, right? And you can't fake that happiness. When they see that you are genuine, when you are authentic, not just everybody, when they see that they engage with you with equal authenticity, and that's where magic happens, I think.
I want to thank you both for coming on to Tech Tuesday, Senior Living Foresight's tech show about senior living for senior living. With senior living, of senior living, we have senior living here. So Chris, I want to give you the last word, and we'll close out.
Okay, well, with Ahmed telling you what's going to be happening in the future, I know that that's going to be a big hit here because they love to talk about themselves. So it is going to be a big hit to, tell a story about themselves, something that really happened. Oh, they're going to love that. So I'm very excited about that, very much so.
Well, you heard it here. See y'all next Tuesday.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Thanks, Jordan.